Okay, good afternoon to all. Sorry for the strange startup time. Anyway, we're up to the Mishnah on Kuf Yud Zayin Amid Beis. Kuf Yud Zayin Amid Beis as we approach the end of the Sechta Bava Kama. So we know that karkas ain't an exelis, but that means that the halachas of Gezela do not apply to karka, right? So we're going to see today that in fact is a machloikis what tanoyim. It's machloikis tanoyim. So basically, the rule of thumb is this: if you steal karka, as long as you don't damage it, it's hari shachal lefanecha. No matter what happens to it, it's not in exelis, so it's always in the reshus of the owner. Hari shachal lefanecha, it's yours. If, however, you damage it, then of course you have to restore what in kain shaganav. Says the Mishnah, shot for nahar. You didn't cause damage to the field, but the nahar, right? Kenny one kuf yud zayin on the base of the Mishnah. We just started. Shot for nahar. If the river went ahead and it flooded the field, you could tell the owner of the field, here it is in front of you. It never left your rishus. Someone steals a sada from his friend. Shot for nahar. He has to go ahead and provide another field. In other words, Rabbi Elazar of the opinion that it's an exelis, like any other gazelle. If you steal and it's not kain shagazal, you have to return a kain shagazal. Since what, right? You stole it. It's not kain shagazal anymore because it was flooded. Therefore, one has to go ahead and restore the field in its state that it was in. The Chachamim it's ain't an exelis, so even though it flooded, so you just say here it is, and the Tanav Mishnah is the Chachamim and not Rebbe Elazar. So again, loy Rebbe Elazar, that rule of thumb that we always say karkas ain't an exelis, right? Is not true. According to Rebbe Elazar, karka an exelis, and it will be subject to the imkain shagazal. It has to be restored. What? Right? Be'eshiv is a gezela shagazal. My tamalei my shagazal to return it in the state it was. According to Rebbe, now it's no longer in that state. Therefore, you have to make good. Says Rebbe, says the Chachamim, no, karka ain't an exelis, as we're going to see. And since karka ain't an exelis, here it is. It's not the same way it was. It's yours. It never was mine. It never was mine. I never was kind of it. It's yours. So it was yours before it was flooded. It's yours after it's flooded. It's yours. That's the yisoid of karka. In my kamifli, what's the svaras hamachloikas? So we have two psukim. We have the psukim in the parsha of Asham Gezeles. Nefesh kisech demol bar Hashem v'kichesh ba misay. Again, if his friend accuses him of stealing something or having something in his reshus, right, that shouldn't be there, and he denies it. Whether it got there al yedei pikadon, he entrusted him, or he was alone, or he begezel, or he stole it, doesn't make a difference. Anything that he swears falsely admits it, he's going to pay. Okay. So now we many times discussed the union of how to learn the Torah. Do you learn the Torah derech riboy miyut, or you learn the Torah derech klalu prat? Right? We spoke about the cup being full. Right? Riboy, the cup is full. Miyut, you take out a little bit, and riboy, you put everything in, and you're going to be mamaya just one thing. Cloud, there's nothing in the cup. The prat comes and defines what's in the cup, but you're only limited to those things that are in the cup, exactly what the prat was. Comes along the second cloud to go ahead and extrapolate from that a rule from those things that are in the cup. We can learn out other things. With that in mind, let's begin. Says the Gemara with Michael Nif. What's as far as machloikas like the Chachamim karka in an exelis, like Rebbe Elazar karka in exelis is Rebbe Elazar darish ribuy u'miutei. Rebbe Elazar darshan is the cloud ribuy u'miutei. The kichesh ba misay is ribuy. You deny your friend anything. The pikadon is a miut, dafka pikadon. Then it says v'chol she'yishav alav is the shaker because of ribuy. Ribuy miut ribuy kol. So everything's included, even karka. Well, my Rabbi called mili. My miut shtaris. It's going to go ahead, shtaris. Even though karka could be stolen, shtaris can't be stolen because shtaris, as we're going to see, are not. They just stand for money. They're not money itself. That's the Rabbi. That's Rebbe Elazar, and therefore karka nixelis. Rabbanan Darshi Klau Prati, the Kichesh Klau, the Vikodim Prat, or Mikola Sheva Klau, Klau Prat Klau, he had to done Elkena Prat. Ma Prat, what's the Prat over here? Pikodim, right? Or Dava Metal Del Gufay Momin. The thing he's entrusted to watch is something that's movable. It itself has value. I've called Dava Metal Del Gufay Momin. Yotsu Karkos, this will be excluded karkos in the Pasha of Gezela. Shem metaltalin, because they're not movable. Yatsu avodim, they would exclude avodim. They're not. You can't go ahead and steal avodim. Shehukshu lekarkois. Again, you could steal them. When we say you could steal anything, fellas. Again, are they subject to the laws of Gezela, being Chai Boinsin, returning a Kain Shagonab? You know that's the laws. What we mean. Yatsu shtaris. This would exclude shtaris. Afa bishem metaltalin in, even though they're metaltal, but in gufan mom, they're not man. But Tanya had goes less apara. Some goes so again. So just the chas riba. If you dash in ribui miyot ribui, so it includes even karka. That's Rabbi Laza, and it's only Mayit Shtaris. If you go ahead and dash in kalu protocol, it excludes not only Shtaris, it would also exclude karka, and therefore shat v'nohar. You could say harit shalach lefanecha was never mine. I never stole it. It was yours. But Tanya gozlas apara the shat v'nohar. Someone steals a para, the shot for nahar, and the river overruns it. Chayiv lahamle para to Rabbi Elazar. Chachamim mam mahari lo shalach v'necha. Hasam my kamifli. Why are they arguing over the case over there? You have a para and shot for nahar. So what's going on over here? Obviously, if shot for nahar is not going in the para, so it must be that the shot for nahar is going on the land. So it must be he stole two things. It must be he stole land, and it must be he stole the para. So what's the machlokes over there? Right? According to Rabbi Losa, you'd have to give him a new power. According to the Chacham Hari Shalach Lefenecha. In other words, in Lomdisha terms, according to Rabbi Losa, it's stolen. According to the Chacham, it's not stolen. Gais para is a dava metaltel v'gufay mamin. So, how do we explain the shita of the Chachamim? So Hasam my kanifli, Amar Papa. Hasam b'mayaskina kigoin shegazel sada mechaveroi. He steals a sada from his friend. He steals a sada from his friend, and para revutza boy, and there's a para that's lying down on the field, and para revutza boy, there's a para lying down on the field. The shotfa nahar, and now it goes ahead one, and the field is flooded. So, for all intents and purposes, you stole the field, correct? And you have a cow in the field. Did you steal the cow or not? The Rebbe Lazar l'tamei, v'Rabbanu l'tamei. Each one goes according to their reasoning. Rashi explains. Let's see Rashi. Para revutza, top Rashi. The Gaslan loy moshcha. The Gaslan never made a kinyan in the para. He made a kinyan in the karka, but he didn't make a kinyan in the para. The habi kikar kois, and now therefore he never made a kinyan. It blibes like karka. Well, Rebbe Lazar, so therefore very geshmak, guys. I stole a field. It's got a cow on the field. I never made a kinyan gezela in the cow. There is no gezela in karka, says the Chachamim. It's in front of you. There never was a gezela in the karka. There was a gezela, but it doesn't have a lachas gezela. And the para, which does have a lachas of gezela, was never stolen. I never made a kinyan. Good, guys are here. Again, the Chacham say Harishalach Fenecha, sai on the karka and sai on the cow. On the karka, they say Harishalach Fenecha, despite the fact that it's flooded, it never was stolen because karka ain't an exelis. They darshan klal pratu klal. The para should be stolen, and the answer is he never made a kinyan in the para. He never made a kinyan in the para. So since he never made a kinyan in the para, he never stole it. So therefore, Harishalach Fenecha, it's yours. It always was yours. It never was mine. Rebbe Lazar says, what? You taka koina both. So guys, als karka you koina the karka, good. And you koina agav the karka, you koina the cow. We know that nechasim she'ein lehem achrayis, anikna agav nechasim she'esh lehem achrayis. We went through this sugya in Masechta Kedushin. It's called the kinyan of agav. If you make a kinyan in the karka, you can be koina the cow. Wherever it is. So it says over here, continues Rashi, well, Rav Lazar the Amash Sada Nixeles Koina Para Ima. Sada is Nixeles, and you koina the par with it. The Chayiv L'Shalem, we chayiv to pay. The Metaltlin Niknik Agav Karka. Metaltlin is Niknik Agav Karka. It's koina Agav the Karka. Well, Rabbanon le koina Sada v'le Par Sheba. You're not koina the Sada, you're not koina the Par Sheba. So guys, according to comes out according to this, the reason why you koina the cow is because you koina the karka, and the cow is on the karka. Now, Rashi learned kinyan agav. I would have learned kinyan chatzar. Guys, why do we know about Kinyan Agav? It doesn't need, the halacha is you do not need sibur metoicha. You do not need what? The animal, that you don't need the metaltalin to be on the karka when you're cutting the karka. You could have the karka in Brooklyn, you could have the metaltalin in China. You're going to be cutting the metaltalin. So why did the Gemara have to say that the that the soda was revutza? In other words, I would think revutza is mashma more that it's a kinyan chutzner, that it should be in the chutzner, right? It should be in the chutzner. Good. So why did Rashi learn kinyan agav and not kinyan chutzner? That's the kasha. So the ketzois in Siman Ayin Reish Hey, it's really Reish Ayin Hey, but we don't say Reish Ayin Hey. We say Ayin Reish Hey. Says Geshmak. When your chutzah works for you, it's kind of mitam yad, mitam shlichus, whatever the lumdus is in the eighth parak of Gittin, parak HaZoyrek, how it exactly works. Clearly, the chutzah belongs to you. It's totally mine. I own the chutzah. Anything that's in my chutzah, if it's mishtameres, if it's watched, right, I can acquire it. When you say there's a kinyan gezela, fellas, is that kinyan gezela equated to full ownership? What is kinyan gezela? It means since it's not in the reshus of the owner, I acquire it in Einstein. I'm responsible for it. But no one's going to tell you that a kinyan gezela makes a shafts an ownership that it should be considered your chutzner. Memela, it's not possible to say I was kind of the chutzner, memela, kind of the cow, because it was in my chutzner. Because all I have in this karka is a kinyan gezela. A kinyan gezela makes me chayiv ba'insin to restore it to him ke'ein sheganav, like in the same state as I stole it. But it doesn't make it mine. For kinyan chatzah to work, it has to be mine. Memela said Rashi, it had to be kind of kinyan agav. It had to be agav. Why revutz v'toicha? I guess the chiddush is in the chachamim that even though you stole the land and the cow was there, you weren't meishach the cow. That would be a beautiful explanation. Like the Ketzais, to explain Rashi. Says the Mishnah, Hagoizel es chaveroi, someone steals from his friend, or he borrows from his friend money, or he went ahead what? Or he entrusted him in the midbar. So in other words, you're in Brooklyn, you lent somebody money, you entrusted somebody with something, or you stole something from somebody in Brooklyn. All these require a return. When you steal something, there's mitzvah heshav es gazela. When you lend something, when you borrow something, you have to return it to the lender. And when you are entrusted to watch something, you have to return it to the owner of the pikadon. So in all these cases, it requires vad hashava. Lo yachsaloi b'midbar. You take a trip, the transaction took place in Brooklyn, and now you're taking a trip, and you meet the guy. You'll say, "Here's your pikadon. Here it is." He doesn't want the pikadon there. He wants it in Brooklyn. He wants it b'yishuv. He doesn't want it. He doesn't want it when you're on vacation. Money also l'chayra. Money he wants it returned where you return it to. We'll see about money in a second. Stolen object, beisha is a gzela. It's very nice for you to want to return my gzela, but I really would like for you to return it where I can go ahead and put it away, not where I have to schlep it away. I'm going to have to schlep it around with me now that you returned something, right? So says the Mishnah, if the transaction took place for the issue lo yachzaloi b'midbar, al menasla says b'midbar, but if what you said I'm giving it to you on the condition that you go to the midbar, yachzaloi b'midbar. So l'chayra, if you made it tonight, then you could restore it in the midbar. Uriminu, I'll ask you a stira. You just told me halva, you can't return midbar, but you only be yishuv. Milva, mishtalemes b'chol makom. A halva could be what? Repaid any place, even in the midbar. That's the kasha on our Mishnah. Aveda pikadin, ein mishtalmin el mkomo. Aveda pikadin, ein mishtalmin, right? Any place. Any place. Rabbi hachi kama. Milva litva b'chol makom. The milva, he can claim it from you anywhere. The malva can claim it for you in the midbar. After all, he did you a favor. So we're not speaking about repaying the guy. We're speaking about him being taiveya. He can make a claim on you in the midbar. Aveda pikodim, where you did him a favor because you watched his object, or you're restoring his aveda that was in your rishus. Like in the tava elam konme, the tefillah is only b'mkonme. It can't be taveya in the midbar. The tefillah has to be what in the yishuv. Mashenkein the halva enochinami. If you don't have it with you, you're not expected to repay it in the midbar, but the tefillah could be in the midbar. The next thing, almanas lotzes b'midbar. We said that, however, they made a condition to go ahead what, and almanas the midbar. So then you could repay, you could do the b'meishevit in the midbar. Pshita, l'chayr it's subject to any other tanai. Just like any tanai you fulfill, it works. So too over here. It says tzricha damalei have a high pikadon gabach. This should be a pikadon by you. That no lemidbar nafikna. In other words, he never spoke out the lashon of what of tanai. He never spoke it out. And he says to him, this should be a pikadon by you because I have to go to the midbar. But guess what? I also have to go out to the midbar. So it's unspoken, even though they did not make a condition, since they both said they have to go to the midbar, that it would be okay to return in the midbar. That's the chiddush of the Mishnah, even though it wasn't mamash tanai, but they spoke about it in that inyan. If I have to return it, I'll return it over there. That's the Mishnah. Okay, next Mishnah is Shtikl Bari B'Shema. The guy comes to his friend and he says the following: Gizalticha, I stole from you. Hilvisani, I borrowed from you. Hifkarata etzli, your pikadon was by me. So this guy is stating that he has a stolen object of his or money from him, right? And he says that I had a pikadon. Now, it doesn't, whether he made the claim was made or not, we don't say. The Mishnah doesn't say, right? The Mishnah does not say whether he made a claim or not. The eni idea, and I don't know, and I don't know if I returned it to you. So he's moided that he once upon a time he had it, and the question is whether he gave his back his gazela, his halva, or his aveda. The lacha is chayiv v'shalem, he's chayiv to pay. In that case, he would be chayiv to pay. Avo, im omaloi, if he says to him, Eini idea im gizalticha, I don't know if I stole from you. Im ilvisani, if I borrowed from you. Im ifkarat etzli, then patim l'shalom, you patim from paying. So two cases. The first case, he says, I admit I had it, but I don't know if I returned it. And the second case, he's saying, I never knew if I had it. Okay? So those are two cases. Itmar. Monali biyotcha. Guy goes ahead and claims, again, this is the beginning, introduction to Bava Metzia, guys, right? Itmar. Monali biyotcha. You have $100 in your possession. V'lo omar any adeya. I don't know. So this kind is timing bari. It's sure that I have it. And he says, I don't know. Shema, maybe. He didn't say I don't. He says, maybe I don't. Rav Huna of Yehuda Omar Chayiv, Bari V'Shema Bari Adif. Bari V'Shema Bari Adif. Correct? Because again, something we're very familiar with. Rav Nachman, Rav Yochanan Amri, Pata. You'll be Pata from paying back the mana. Why? Because, we'll see in a second, these are the things, this is we know. So Rav Huna Rav Yehuda Amri Chayiv Bari V'Shema Bari Yodef. Rav Huna Rav Yehuda, the guy claims the mana, he's timing Bari Yomi Amana. The other guy saying, I don't know, that's a time of Shema. Bari V'Shema Bari Yodef. And therefore, Chayiv to pay. Rav Nachman Rav Yochanan Amri Pata. He'll be Pata from paying. Because why? We'll keep the money, the status quo. We'll keep the money that's endowed by the owner. You claiming that what you gave it to me? Which is the halacha, which we always pass on like this, right? Again, this is the Imam this 101. Now, what does it have to do with us? Our case, what did our Mishnah say? A guy comes along and says, I know I had it, I don't know if I returned it. Second case, I don't even know if I had it. Tanan. Case number two in our Mishnah. I don't know if any day Emil Visani. I don't know if the halva ever took place. Pata, you'll be pata. Now, was there a claim made or not? Again, the Mishnah didn't make the guy in the Mishnah. We only had him talking. We had the receiver. We didn't have the giver talking, right? The receiver said in the first case, he said, I borrowed, I stole, I was entrusted. In the second case, he says, I don't know. Now, obviously, there must be a claim over here. When he's saying, I don't know, somebody must be talking to him, right? Says the Gemara, Hechidami. If you're telling me that no one's Taiveya and he simply claims, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And what's the ratio? And the ratio is claiming that what? I do know, I do know, right? And you said Yechayiv in the ratio? Ratio Nami? It must be still a Katavale. To be consistent in symmetry, if the Seif is speaking about there's no Taiveya, the ratio also must be speaking about there's no Taiveya. So am I Chayiv? Why to be Chayiv? Let's go to the Mishnah, guys. Go to the first case. A guy shows up and he says the following. He says to his friend, who did not claim from him anything, he says, Gizalticho hilvisani hifkarat etzli, and I don't know if I returned it, chayiv l'shaling. Why in the world would he be chayiv to pay? The guy never made a claim. He is the source of all information. And what does he say? I'm not sure. So in a case where he says, I'm not sure, we're going to be chayiv him to pay? If no one's being toiveya him, no one making a claim from him, we're going to be mechayiv him to pay? Makes no sense, correct? Guys, you good? You're good. Ella must be, back in the Gemara, the kotavale. It must be the with toiveya. So guys, in the ratio, if the guy says, he says, where's my stolen object? Where's my aveda? Where's my... And he admits, I had it, but I'm not sure I gave it back. In that case, you're chayiv. That case is going to be chayiv. The sefer, therefore, must be what? Where the guy made a claim and said, where is it? And he says, I don't know. I don't know if I ever had it. So you have the claim of Bari V'Shema. And it says what? You are, what does it say? Okay. The Ketani sefer pata. It says, sefer you pata from paying. If he says, I don't know if I had it, you pata from paying. So you, Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda, want a taina. Bari V'Shema, Bari Adif. From the Sefer of our Mishnah, we have a Bari V'Shema and Yapata. One more time, guys. We have two cases in the Mishnah, Clause A and Clause B. Clause A is stating, if a guy shows up and says, I had something and I'm not sure I restored it to you, Chayev. Sefer, I'm not sure I ever had it, Potter. Now, it must be speaking where there was a claim, because if there wasn't a claim, case number one, you wouldn't be Chayev. So, case number one, we'll get back to case number one in a second. So, what's case number two? Where's my stolen object? Where's my loan? Where's my picodon? I had it, but I don't know. Meaning, I don't know if I ever had it. I don't know if I ever had it. Good. Is that a claim of a bari? Guys claiming bari? Yeah. What's he saying? Shema. He goes, I don't know if I had it or not. Any idea? What does the Mishnah say? Potter. Mishnah, a Tanoic statement saying you put on a Bari V'Shema, Kasha and Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda said Bari V'Shema, Bari Yadav Nichayev. That's the Kasha. Okay. And for the Gemara, like the Olam de la Katavalei, it's speaking where he wasn't Taiveya. So there's no Bari over here. Now, what's your question, guys? If there's no Taiveya, case number one, you show up and you say, you know what? I know I stole from you. I'll just say one thing. I know I stole from you. I'm not sure I returned it. Why would he be chayev? No one was tavei him. You know what the answer is? The Reish is speaking where he wants to be yotzidei shemayim. He wants to be, you know what I always use the term, he wants to be squeaky clean. He wasn't to come up, oh, by the way, you know what? He wants to make sure that what? Squeaky clean. So therefore, no teveya. If there's no teveya, the seif is not speaking about a bari. There's no time of bari. It's not shver on Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda. And then for the ratio that says that what yechayev, it's speaking where you want to be yotzidei shemayim. Itmanami, Rav Chia Barabba, Rav Yochanan, Ha'im lechaveroi, manali biyadcha, v'lo Omer eni yadeya. He says, where's your mana? He says eni yadeya. So he says bari v'shema chayev the bolot tzidei shemayim. Is chayev when? Not al pi halacha, not al pi dinei mominus, but yotzim dei shemayim. So you see, bari v'shema, you want to be yotzim dei shemayim. Says the Mishnah. Hagoynev tle min ha'eda. Someone steals a sheep from the flock. V'echziroi. He returned it. Umeis nignav, and then it died or it was stolen. Chayiv b'achri yusay. He's chayiv. Let's go through this. We should know this by heart by now. He stole it and he returned it. If it's not a hashava, he's a gazlan. A gazlan is chayiv be'oinsin. So it died or stolen. Oinsin is kolshken gzela v'aveda. So if you're going to be chayiv, you see it's not considered a what, right? A good what? A good hashava. Hagoyin v'tlamei ha'eda v'echziroini took it back umeis v'nignav chayiv b'chuyusay. Okay, says Rashi. The mechiganva, as soon as he stole it, kam le b'rshusay. It was considered in his rishus. V'hashava da'avid lav hashavahi, and that he returned it is not a hashava. Ad shemoidia lehu lebailin, till he informed the owner. Like you go, no, I'll use it and I'll put it back. Right? When you picked it up and used it, you're stealing it. And if you don't tell me you put it back, it's not a hashava. So since you didn't tell him you put it back, you didn't inform him. Therefore, it's not a hashava. Therefore, it was in your rishus, in your einsin and geneva and yechayev. Now, lo yodu bailim. The case number one was l'chayro, where the owner knew that you stole it and you didn't tell him you brought it back. What about lo yodu bailim? He never knew you stole it. Lo b'gnevasay v'lo b'chazirasay. Umanu esat soin b'shleima. He counts his soin and lo and behold, it's there. Potter, you'll be potter. That's considered hashava. So he never knew from what the geneva. He never knew from that shava. He counts it, and now everything is there. Then you'll be potter from geneva vaveda and einsin. You'll be potter. Okay, so we're going to have a four-way machloikis, guys. A four-way machloikis in the Mishnah. Amarav, ledas. If you stole it, ledas, he knew you stole it. Sarach das. Then when he needs das that you returned it. If there was das when you stole it, needs das when you return it. Minyan shaloy das. If he didn't know you stole it, then you don't have to tell him. But minyan paiter, it would be enough that what? That he counts. It would be enough that he counts it. The chikatani umanu esat soin v'ishlema. And when the Mishnah learned umanu esat soin v'ishlema, it's going on the Sefer. Because the ratio, it's not enough to count. The ratio, which was the das, you have to go ahead and okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this inside the chart before we do it inside the Gemara. Let's try this. We could all see this? Right. We see it? Yeah, we can see it, yeah? Okay. So now, in our Mishnah, right, we have our Mishnah. The Reisha, the Baal knows that he stole it. In the Sefer, the Baal doesn't know. In the Reisha, the Baal knows he stole it. In the Sefer, the Baal doesn't know. Now, and it says, Umona esat soin v'shleima pater. If he counts it, you pater. Rav holds, fellas, if he knows you stole it, you have to inform him that you returned it. It's not enough counting. It's not enough counting. When is counting enough? That's shaloy ledas. That's when he didn't know you stole it. So Rav is going on the Sefer of the Mishnah. The Sefer that you don't know that you stole it, it's enough to count. That's Rav. Shmuel says that you never have to tell him. If you know you stole it and he counts, it's great. Certainly, if he didn't know you stole it, counting is great. So like Shmuel, Umanu Asatzon is going on the whole Mishnah. Sai on the Reisha where he knew about it. Sai in the Sefer where you didn't know about it. As long as you count it, it's going back Ledas and Shaloi Ledas. Rabbi Yochanan, he's the most lenient. He says Ledas, count it. Shaloi Ledas, just return it. He doesn't even have to count. As long as you put it back, even without counting the mitzvah Shava. Rav Chisda is the opposite of Rav. And we're going to have to see, Rav Chisda is the biggest chiddush. If he knew you stole it, then it's enough to count. You don't have to inform him. It's enough to count. But if he didn't know, then you better tell him that you stole it and returned it. If he didn't know, he's the inverse of Rav. So he's the biggest chiddush. Guys, Rashi says the bigger geneva is ladas. When you know you stole something, there seems to be more of a, I don't know if there's more of a kinyan, but there seems to be, it's a worse geneva than if you're not. It makes sense. Hear no evil, see no evil, you don't know anything, you're good. So the fact that Rav Chisda would hold that you needed to inform him is a huge chiddush. So let's see the Gemara now. I'm going to keep the chart open, guys, and you'll see it goes geschmiert. Amarav, lidas, if he knows you stole it, sarach das, you better inform him that you restored it. Shaloi lidas, if he never know you stole it, minyan poiter. The fact that it counted would pater you from einzin, you kavi mitzvah shava. V'chikatani umanu esat sign. And when you learned that you counted sign, v'hi shlema aseifa, the counting would only help shaloi ladas. It would not help ladas. Shmuel Amar bein ladas, bein shaloi ladas minyan poiter. V'chikatani umana v'hashlema poiter akula. So let's see just those two sheets, guys. Look at the chart. Those two sheets. So now, Rav would say the word umanu esat sign would only be going on here where you can count, because the das it's not enough counting. Shmuel says we're counting is both, and we're going back on the whole Mishnah, whether it's the das or shaloi ledas. Back in the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan ledas minyan paiter. The das counting would make it that would be kaini mitzvah shava. Shaloi ledas afilu minyan amulate tzarich. You don't even have to count; you just return it. The chikatani and monas sign counting is going by the ratio where you count. Rav Chisda says the das minyan paiter. Shaloi ledas tzarich das. And if Shaloi Ladas, you better inform him. The Chikatani Yimon Esat Sayin is also going on the ratio, guys, right? So, guys, look, when it says over here money, you're counting. So, according to Shmuel, Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Chisda, and Rav, according to him, count is going on only going on the ratio. According to Rav and Shmuel, it's going Sayin the ratio, Sayin the Seifa, the counting part. Okay, now, Amar Rava. Guys, what's the most Chiddush Kashita? That's Rav Chisda, correct? Guys, Rav Chisda is the most chiddush kashita because he says shaloi ledas. You have to inform him. Why would I have to inform him if he never knew anything? If he never knew anything, why do I have to inform him? So Amar Rava, Amid Beis, my time with Rav Chisda. What's the reason Rav Chisda? Rashi points out he's the biggest chiddush, so therefore he's the one that we have to explain the most. Hoil ve ankata nagre brisa. Since it was accustomed, it learned like to go outside. The exact translation is since it went ahead to go outside. It said, usually an animal has a very, very boring life. Think about a goldfish in a bowl. So a goldfish in a bowl is limited to his bowl. Think about if you put the goldfish in a huge tank, right? Huge tank. Then you put the goldfish back in the bowl. It's not going to be the same goldfish because he's used to what? He's used to being out there. You have an animal that's used to being inside. That animal is accustomed to be a certain level of shmira, to watch it. Once it gets outside already, this animal has learned a bit, he knows what the nightlife is like and he wants to go out. This person not knowing that, right? He's not going to be able to watch it correctly. Therefore, says Rava, the Goslin has to inform the owner that this animal has been outside in order to go ahead and ensure that the owner will know to watch it better. So therefore, this case over here, Rav Chisda says, inform. Why do you have to inform him? Because if you don't inform him, he's not going to know to watch. And this animal needs a better shmira now because it was accustomed to being outside. So it's mashma now that Rava holds like Rav Chisda. When Rav is explaining Rav Chisda, it's mashma Rava holds like Rav Chisda. So umiyam Rava hachi that you have to inform. V'hama Rava hayman dechazil lechavre, a person that saw his friend the agba imra, his friend picked up a sheep in order to make edra the day from his herd, and he was going to steal it. The Rama Beikola and the owner lifted up his voice, the Shadja, and he threw it back in, the Layoda, and he didn't know he didn't know what if it was returned or not returned. And then it was found out later, Nigdav, Chayiv Bachriyusai, Yechayiv Bachrayas. My lav, Afagav Demanu, that even though what you counted Yechayiv Bachrayas, so you see that what if you he knew about it, right? Guys, look at the chart. He saw his friend stealing, so this is Ladas, correct? He saw his friend stealing, so this is Ladas. The Brisa says that L'chayr is Chai Bachrayas, even though he put it back, he's Chai Bachrayas. Why? Because his friend went ahead, what? And he must have counted it. Ma'afal gave the money, even though he counted it, right? It's not enough to count. It's not enough to count. You'd have to go ahead, what? Since it's a das, you'd have to inform. So it's a kasha on Rava. You, Rava, hold like Rav Chisda, who says it's enough to count. We see when you have to go ahead and tell him, it must be that what? That counting's not enough. It must be you have to inform, like Rav. Kasha on Rav, who said the Allah is like Rav Chisda. Says the Gemara, loy, the loy money, he didn't count. But had he counted, then it would be a good ashava and he would be chay b'achrayas. For the Gemara, umi amar Rav hachi, does Rav really say hachi? Does Rav really say that that shebechol mikra, any race, a minyan, a das, you need to go ahead. Look at Rav. Rav's the most common guy. So you have to either inform him or you have to count. Umi amar Rav hachi, v'amar Rav, hichsel le'eda shebemidbar. If you went ahead and it was in the midbar and you took it and you put it back, right? Guys, according to that, if you took it and put it back, it's not hashava. A, it wasn't counted. B, you didn't inform the guy. So how does Rav go ahead and deal with this brisa? Right? So and for the Gemara, Rav Chana bar Avua, Moida Rav. Rav is going to be Moida Biraka Oisa. The lashon of, it's a spot, I think it's spotted. Birkuasa. So in other words, if the animal is so distinct that he'll notice that it's there without being counted or informed, that's considered ashava. So this animal that was returned to the Eider, it was distinctly different. It was Birkusa. It was a spotted animal. So in one fell swoop, he was able to look and see that it was there. When does Rav say you have to inform him Ladas or count Shaloi Ladas? That's when it looks like all the other animals. Since this animal was distinctly different, that would be considered a hashava. Says the Gemara Lema Kitanoi. Let's say the machloikis of Amoroyim over here between Rav Shmuel, Rabbi Yochanan, Rav Chisda is machloikis Tanoim. What's the machloikis? Right. Hagoynev tle mina eder. Someone steals a tle from the herd. Vesela mina kiss, and a seller from a wallet. L'makom shagonov yachzer. It's enough to put it back. It's enough to put it back. Just return it. This is like Rabbi Yochanan. Just return it. Divrei Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Kiva Omer, Sarach das bailim. You need das bailim. So now it's going to be Rav is going to hold like Rav is going to hold like Rabbi Kiva, and Shmuel is going to hold like what? Shmuel is going to hold like Rabbi Yishmael. Now notice it says count over here. We have two distinct cases, guys. One case by animals and one case by animals, and one case what by one case by animals and one case by money. So the case by money is the case of counting. We have a Gemara, the Gemara in Elam Mitzias. We're getting counting right. Elam Mitzias Shlo Yelchev Hachriz. We said Yish Shloimi Das. It's speaking that if you're finding Mois Mefuzoros, he wasn't what? He was not Miyayish, because it's Yish Shloimi Das. Says the Gemara, it's Yish Midas. Why? Because Adam Mishamish Bekisa B'Kol Shah. Person checks his assets at all time. He looks at his wallet to see how much money he has. Bisman Hazeh, he may look at his app, his Chase app, and see how much money he has. You're always aware where your money is, where coming or going. So this creates the case Ladas. Knowing that you check your money all the time creates the scenario of Ladas, correct? Now, why does Rav say Ladas? You better inform the guy. It's not enough to count. Why does Shmuel say? It's enough to count. So now we want to say the Machloikas Rav and Shmuel is the Machloikas Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. Rav, who says you have to count, who says it's not enough to count, you have to know about it, right? You have to be informed. Holds like Rabbi Akiva. You can't just put it back. You have to know about it. And Rabbi Shmuel, who says you can put it back, right? And you would know about it because you counted, holds like Shmuel. Shmuel holds like Rabbi Shmuel. That's what the Gemara suggests. So one more time. Just put it back. Rabbi Kiva, Savru, the Kuli Alma, everyone holds Islu, the Rabbi Yitzchak. Everyone holds the Rabbi Yitzchak, Dom Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak is of the opinion, Adam Asilim Mishamish, Bekisa Bechol Shah. A person will be Mishamish with his kiss at every opportunity. So therefore, it creates a case of Ladas. My lab, the seller Ladas, and the seller with Plukta, the Rav Shmuel, right? And so Rav would hold like Rabbi Akiva, that it's not enough just to return it. You have to tell me you returned it. And Shmuel, who says that, and Rabbi Shmuel says that it is a good return, would hold like Shmuel because you counted it. Now, a tleh you're not counting all the time. And you had the same achloikas by Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shmuel by the tleh, correct? That's what it said. So now, how do we fit that in? It says the Gemara, b'tleh shloi l'das, tleh speaking shloi l'das. Ubeplukta Rav Chisda, Plukta Rav Chisda, who says you have to inform him. That's Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yochanan would hold like Rabbi Shmuel. That's enough to count. Amar Rav Svid Mishmei Dera. So you have l'chayra, you have a machlokes tanoim. Let's put the chart up and let's speak it out. By the money, it's speaking. We hold like Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak says a person knows, person is ladas. Therefore, Rav says you have to inform the guy. He's the same opinion as Rabbi Akiva, who says it's not enough to return it, but you have to tell the guy. Shmuel says that ladas, it's enough to count it. So he holds like Rabbi Shmuel. Since it's money, it's counted. You know about it. It's enough. So Rav and Shmuel is machlokes Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shmuel. What about the tleh? Tleh you don't count. A tleh you don't count. You don't count your tleh. And so the machlokes is what? Is whether you have to go ahead and inform the guy or not. Light Rabbi Akiva, that you have to inform the guy. Tells like Rav Chisda tells like Rabbi Akiva. It's enough. Light that Rabbi Shmuel, that's enough to return it. Rabbi Yochanan holds like Rabbi Shmuel. So the case of Rav and Shmuel is the case of the money, and the case of the tleh is Rabbi Yochanan and Rav Chisda. Rabbi Yochanan again says Rabbi Shmuel, you just return it. That's Rabbi Yochanan. Says Rabbi Akiva, it's not enough to return it. That's Rav Chisda. Okay, guys, good. So these two cases is the coins. These two cases, what is the tleh? Everything fits. Alles stimmt. It all works out well. Amar Rav Zvid Mishmei Derava. No. Now that you understand it, guys, it's not true. It's not a machlokes tanoim. Let's change the gear. So take out the word b'shaymer and put in the word begoinev mishus bailim kolyamalei pligi kiderav Chisda. If you stole it from the rishus to the bailim, everyone would agree with Rav Chisda that ladas it's enough to count. Shaloi ladas you'd have to tell him. V'hacha b'shaymer shagonav mishusay. It's speaking about a shaymer who steals from himself and puts it back. So you're a roya, you're watching sheep, guys, right? You're watching sheep, and it's late at night, and you're getting hungry, and you decide, you know what? I want some lamb chops. So you go ahead, you take a sheep, you sharpen up your knife, and you're going to chef the sheep. You did a bar on the sheep, right? And then you have regrets, and you put it back. Were you a gazlan? Were you a ganif? You sure were. Is your return a return or not? Is your return a return or not? Says Rabbi Akiva, as soon as you stole it, your shmira as a roya ends. Therefore, your return is not a return. You didn't put it, because it's still, again, you stole it, but you didn't return it, because the owner has to know about it, and he doesn't. According to Rabbi Shmuel, that you're still a shaymer, and therefore you never did anything. Whatever you did, you restored. So that's the case, but it's not speaking about ladas shaloi ladas by a regular ganav. So it's speaking begoin of shagonav mishusay sheyachzil l'makom shagonav k'mitzli. Rabbi Akiva sava calls l'shmirasay. As soon as you stole it, your shmir is over. As soon as your shmir is over, du bist ganav. You're a gazlan. You have to return it, and you didn't because he doesn't know about it. Rabbi Shmuel sava loy calls l'shmirasay, and therefore you're still a shaymer, and therefore it's a good hashava. Lema minyan paiter tanoihi. Let's say whether counting is a machlokes tanoim. The Tanya. You steal from a friend. You steal $100 from your friend. Now, you're a little embarrassed to go ahead and say you stole $100. You know what you do? You go ahead. I'm going to buy something from you. I'm going to buy a couch. The couch costs $500. So you know what? I'll slip in the other 100. You know what? It'll $1,000. In other words, make it a large sum that it won't be so obvious that I restore to you that I stole. So that's called havlah, like it literally swallowing up. You have the price of the geneva being swallowed up in the what? In the cheshbon of the purchase price. Good. That's what you're doing. So hagoyzes chaveroi vevli olay becheshbon tani chada. One brisa says yatsa yayitzi chiyav hashava. And another one says you're not yaitza. So now, Savru the Kuli Alma is Lud Rabbi Yitzchak, that Adam Meshamish B'Kisai B'Chol Shah. So therefore, this is the case of Ladas. So if it's Ladas, right, guys, that would explain why you're not yaitza. Good. My laba kanifli demand dama yatsa sava minyan paiter. Since he counted it and he sees he has extra money, he's off the hook. Uman dama la yatsa sava minyan aina paiter. Right. Part two of the chart. We want to first say that minyan paiter or minyan not paiter is machlokes. You stole money from your friend. You overpaid him, hoping that he wouldn't realize that in there's a hashava. Is it a good hashava or not? So the one that said it's good hashava is because counting is enough. It patters. The one says that it's not a good hashava. Lo yatsa is must be minyan doesn't patter. So whether counting patters or not, l'chayr is machlokes tanoyim, two brises. That's the first pshat. Amri says the Gemara. No, you're going to bring Amri Isvirlon says the Gemara. Amri, they said in the yeshiva. Isvirlon Rabbi Yitzchak Kuli Amle Pligi Dominion Paita. If you hold like Rabbi Yitzchak, everyone would hold counting is off the hook, so you'd be Yaitza. El B'Rabbi Yitzchak Kamiflaki. Maris Rabbi Yitzchak, Mar less Rabbi Yitzchak. So here's the machlokes, guys. The one that says Yaitza knows that it's counted because since he holds like Rabbi Yitzchak, you can be sure he counted it. The one that says you're not Yaitza Mitzvah Shava because he never counted it. Why didn't he count it? Because he doesn't hold the Rabbi Yitzchak. So Enechanami Minyan would be a good Hashava. The Shaila over here, did he count or not? If you hold like Rabbi Yitzchak, he counted. If you don't hold Rabbi Yitzchak, he didn't count. That's pshat number 2. Pshat number 3, V'ba Yasema, the Kuliyama Islu Rabbi Yitzchak, he does count. V'lei Kasha, had the money v'ramalei bekisei, had the money v'ramalei liyadei. If he counted and he placed it in his wallet, then he knows where it is. It's a good Hashava. But when's he not Yaitza? When he counted it and you placed it in his hand. If you placed it in his hand, he's not aware of what the owner put it. He put it and he never counted it. In other words, usually you count it when it's in your wallet. If you put it in his hand, he didn't count it yet, and then he put it in his box. So since he didn't count it, he's not Yaitza. So again, according to this one, that's the machlokes whether you hold like Rabbi Yitzchak or not. According to Shita number 3, guys, we're holding like Rabbi Yitzchak. You do count. The question is over here, did he count or not? If he counted and he put it in his wallet, then the Yaitza. But if he put it in his hands, then what? The Goslin counted it and placed it in his hands, then it's not considered what? A good Hashava. Everybody saying, but finally, the money for Rami Bekise, he put it in his wallet. If he puts it in the wallet when empty, so he knows that he returned it to him. If there's other money in the wallet, he's not aware that you returned it to him because it's just nivla with what in the other wallet. So you're suggesting that minyan is poiter or not really is not you're not limited to saying that. I can give 3 other b'shatim to answer up the brisa that says yotza not yotza. The first one, the machlokes and Rabbi Yitzchak. The second one, what is where he placed the money. Third one is whether there was a lot of money in there or not. And that is an excellent piece of chart. Says the Mishnah, Ein loichim min aroyim, semer v'chalav v'gediyim. Araya, don't buy milk or wool or milk or tzigin or goats from them, because you can probably be assured that they stole. You have a person who's watching an orchard and he has fresh produce for sale or fresh firewood for sale. Stay away. Chances are that they don't belong to him. You go ahead and buy from women. Now the question is, guys, when you're buying from women, are they selling their husbands without his knowledge? So that's a type of gzela, right? It's type of. So if I'm buying from a woman, how do I know she's not taking her husband's property and selling it? It seemed to be the custom that woolen clothing, the husband would give the wool to the woman to go ahead and sell in Yehuda. The kli pishton begalol, and in the north part of Eretz Yisrael, linen clothing, linen. Va'golim Sharon, in Sharon the women would sell calves. The kulin shamru, and every woman who sells you something and says lahatmin, don't tell anybody about it, then asa. Why? Don't tell anybody. You know it's asa because she stole it. The loichin. Just once. Okay, so V'kulan she'amru lahatmin asa. All of them tell you that you go ahead, keep it on the wraps, then it's asa. V'loichim beitzim v'tanagalim b'chol makam. But eggs and the chickens you can buy any place. Tanabanan. Very, very easy Gemara, guys. In loichim min aroyim, loy izim v'legediyim v'legizin. Gizin are fleece, of wool. V'loy tlushim or disattached wool. Why? Because v'chayish they stole. Avloichim mehem tfurin. But if it's a sewn object, a sewn wool, you could buy from them. If neshein shelahem, they coin it with shina maisa, guys. Rashi says they be coin it with shina maisa, so they stole shina maisa. Therefore, you can buy from them. In the midbar, the owner is not makbid. He's in the midbar. The milk's going to sour anyway, and the cheese is going to sour anyway. So he's not makbid. So even if they steal it, he's miyayish. So you can buy it from them, but not when they're in an inhabited area. You can buy 4 or 5 sheep. Or 4 or 5 fleeces. What's the svara, guys? 4 or 5 is noticeable. If he's selling you 4 or 5, then he's not stealing. If he's selling you 2, then it's stealing. Of course, again, the owner's not going to notice it. What's about 3? That's a shaila, guys. What about 3 is a shaila? Rabbi Yehuda says, Baisus. Rabbi Yehuda says, if he is going ahead and he'll in the house, so it doesn't have to do with the amount; it has to do with location. B'baisus loichem mehem, you could buy from them because the owner will be aware if it's missing. Midbariyos, but in the midbar, ain't loichem mehem. So again, we have the brisa 4 or 5, which is recognizable, you could because he's not stealing it. 2, which is not recognizable, you can't. Says Rabbi Yehuda, it doesn't depend upon amount; it depends upon location. In the house, you could buy because he'll notice it's missing. In the midbar, you can't buy because he won't notice. Anything that the roy would sell and the Baal would be aware of it being missing, then you could purchase from him. But he won't be aware in Amamar, going back over the Brayta. Now, if you could buy 4, so you could buy 5. You can buy 4 mitoich 5. In other words, if there's 5 altogether, you can buy 80%. You can buy 4. The other same of Krista, arba me'eda cotton, v'chamesh me'eda gadol. 4 from a small flock and 5 from a large flock. Again, it's recognizable, and therefore he would know the difference. And says Maragufa Kasha. The inference over here is shver. Amit dalav hate sign, dalav hate gizin, dalav ve'in, avashash aloy. 3 not. 3 he wouldn't recognize. Amos Seifa, avalosh state sign, hashalosh zavninan. So guys, the inference from the Reisha says 3 you can't. The inference from the Seifa 2, 3 you could. Right? Which one is it? It says, it depends. If it's a recognizable one that he checks all the time, then 3 you could buy because he'd be aware of it. One that's is weak and he doesn't check all the time, then 3 you can't buy because he won't be checking all the time and he won't be aware of it. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Baisus like him min abariyas ain't like him. He boilu. Rabbi Yehuda Areisha Koi Ulachumra is Rabbi Yehuda going on the case of 4 and 5 and is being machmir. Dilma Seifa Koi, maybe he's going on the case of 2 Ulakula, and that's going to be the Gemara fears us. Areisha Koi Ulachumra. The Amar loichim mehen abba v'chamishet tzoyin. You could buy 4 or 5. Hani mili, when's that? Baisus. That's when it's in the house. Avamid bariyas afilu abba chamishaloi. That's the chumrah. 4 or 5 when? In the house. 4 or 5 in the midbar, not. And so he's being machmir. By Dilma as seifa koya. Maybe he's going on the seifa. Ulakula, and he's going lakula. The Amar. Aval loy shtei tzoyin v'loy shtei gisin. Hani mili, when can't you buy 2? That's midbarius. Aval baisais, if the 2 are in the house, shtayim nami loichim, 2 you could also buy. Okay, that's the question. Is he being the chumrah? If he's going on dalad v'hei, he's being machmir. Dalad v'hei only in the house, but in the midbar not. If he's going on 2 in the house, not. 2 in the house, not. But in excuse me, 2 in the house, yes. But the midbar not. But in the house you could buy. Says the Gemara Tanya. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer loichem baisus mehen, vein loichem mehem midbarius. Mekalmakim loichem mehen av v'chamishet sign 4 or 5. Mid the Amar b'chamakim Shmamino asay for koyel kula. He's coming to be makel, right? He's coming to makel that what dafka 2 you can't, but 4 or 5 in the house, in the midbar 4 or 5 you would be able to buy. Okay, wish everyone a good day.